The mission today is to sharpen your swords and get you ready for battle. It's time to fine-tune your craft and make you the best in what you do. The mission is to equip you to help anyone purchase what they need. We'll share the best advice from the best in their industry. You'll be listening to a conversation you wish you had with the mentors you wish you had. Take what makes sense to you and makes you better in your career. You guys, Bruce Lee said it best. Absorb what is useful and discard what is not.
All right, everybody. Welcome to the Commission Mission. I'm Micah Henderson.
And my name is Eric Gerace, and I'm excited for our guest today. He's not only extremely successful in business and mentorship, but he's one of my best friends. He's helped me with my relationships, with my business. I met him. He was the president of the North Florida Landlord Association at the time, and he was holding a workshop on land trust, and it was just incredible. I went in and met him at this meeting. He shared this knowledge, and it was something that completely changed my business. And so it's my absolute honor and pleasure to introduce Arell Holloway. Welcome, Arell.
How are you guys doing? Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming.
Fantastic. So one of the things that I want to dive into you, Arell, that you've helped me with, you've helped open my eyes to, is you're just amazing at recognizing opportunities. Like he was the president of the Landlord Association. I know he's owned and ran a gym in the past. He had a massively successful rental business, but we had some really powerful challenges here in Panama City Beach. We had a a Category 5 hurricane that came in and wiped out half of the doors that Arell owned, and he had to pivot and change his business. And he's just a master of recognizing that. And how did you hone that skill? What are the nuggets that you can share from what I've witnessed you do that could help our audience?
Well, just what came up for me when you just said all that, I think it's really important that I think I've always had this when I was just ridiculously young. So, as soon as I could think, I was like trying to figure out how to build Lego cities and do stuff like that. And I think it's really important for any of the listeners that have children is to support their talents, whatever they are, and not try to drive them away from that. Because eventually, ultimately I think what will happen is kids will do what the parents want them to do, then they may resent it, and eventually they'll hopefully become free enough where they can go back to that. So why not just support them in the talents that I have right from the beginning, and raise an entrepreneur if that's who you have in your family, instead of trying to make him an executive at a
or maybe go in the military. It's really serendipitous or ironic that you bring this up. While we were waiting, to see you today, we were having that same conversation about, there's some people that say, hey, there's a certain course that you do in life. There is school, you do good in school, you go to college, you start on your way from the ground up with that Fortune 500, good company, or maybe you go into the military, and that's the route that you go. And if I was maybe not forced or coerced to go in that sort of path, I wouldn't be living my ideal life right now and having the happiness and success that I'm in. So we were talking about applying that to our children. We were talking about giving them another opportunity as far as knowing that if it was their talent, if it was right for them to go the entrepreneur route.
Right. I agree. I don't feel like though those are things like going in the military or going to college are things that really pull the child away from that.
Right.
I think those are just giving the child more options, and whether the child wants to go there or not, I think it's just giving it that option for that, because the military can be an amazing education, and amazing for us in a disciplinary way where our parents is very difficult to discipline us in that way, because parents are soft. They don't want to be that tough. A lot of parents want to be liked, which is why parents can't parent today. Parents want to be liked. You can't like a kid if you're responsible for being the person that make sure that the person becomes an upstanding, functional, productive, and abundant adult.
It was a fine line to walk. In between discipline and love.
I think it's more than a fine line. I think most parents don't even see that line. I think they're so far away from that line that it's about them being liked. Most parents' biggest fear is that their kid won't like them. So how can you
nurture
make a standard for a child if you're afraid they're not going to like what you tell them?
Yeah, and that's one of the things that Arell helped me with, because I did that. When I first had my oldest son, that's what I wanted. I wanted him to love me just as much as I loved him. I wanted him to have all these feelings for me. And so discipline or telling him no was difficult. But now with working with Arell and understanding what I was doing, so like I was creating exactly for my son what I didn't want for him through that process. And so Arell is the one that opened my eyes to where now I'm actually cheering those moments when I hear those "I hate yous." I know I'm doing a good job. I know I'm serving up. Maybe it's not something in the moment that he loves, but something that's going to serve him later on in life.
Yeah, to challenge a little bit. Absolutely. So after nurturing the natural talents of a child, either as a parent or as the entrepreneur, what's the next step to making sure you're able to grow the talents that you have?
Well, since we're on that path,
yeah.
I think the next important thing, especially for parents, is you can't teach someone unless you're ahead of them. So you have to become the part of that teacher that can teach your child to be their highest and best. So to me, it's parents feel like that they're at this place and now they have to teach their child. Well, the highest that the child can get being taught by a parent that's at level 5 is a level 5 kid. So the parent needs to elevate themselves. They need to learn if they're going to encourage their child to be to express their talents and abilities. Then they have to look at their talents and abilities. The child's not going to listen to what they tell you. Children don't listen to what parents tell them. They do what parents do. So if a parent goes for their dreams, this reminds me of this amazing. It's one of those AGT or America's Got Talent shows, and there was a man. He got on stage, and he was a middle-aged man. And he said, my wife and I adopted some children, and we have 5 children that we adopted. One of them was handicapped, and that's their life. But he said he realized that he could not teach them to follow their dreams if he wasn't following his dreams. And one of his dreams was to get on stage and try to get a shot at being a singer. And I mean, he went out there with so much emotion and so much. I mean, it was an incredible performance. I mean, it was literally, people were just really like, the jaws were just dropped. Not just this guy had a great voice, but just what he put into that. But what he put into that was not just his own dream. He was what he put in there was being the example.
Wow.
It was really amazing. I'll send you guys a link to it. It's really cool.
Yeah.
That's one of the things that, after working with Arell, I realized that we're the average, and I'm not sure exactly who said this first, but that we're the average of the 5 people that we spend the most time with.
I think that was me.
And so
I think Robert Kiyosaki got that from you.
Yeah, but it was Mike originally. Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
And so that statement really hit home with me, because I looked at who I was hanging out with at that time, and it was a lot of people in my situation or worse. Usually I was the curve in there, like I was the one bringing up the curve. And so, but I couldn't get what I wanted in my life, and I couldn't be there for my kids the way I wanted to be, staying with that same average. So I had to level up, and Arell became one of my 5 that I leveled up with. And then I used other mentors that they didn't even know they were my mentors. People like Les Brown. I watched a ton of his videos, but it was all about getting me to be my highest and best, because there was a time when I used to say that I can't do that because I have children. I can't take that risk because I have kids to support. I can't take that risk because my wife and we have this mortgage that we have to worry about. But I realized after working with Arell
that's exactly the reason why you needed to do it.
It was exactly the reason why I needed to.
I learned that
show
recently.
them.
Those were your borders that you were expressing.
Yeah.
Of what? Okay, this is as far as my limits are right now. You were just expressing your limits at that point.
Yeah, and it's kind of like our thermostat that we have. I realize that we have this. Everybody has a thermostat, and what I mean by that is if someone starts to introduce me as the wealthiest, most successful person they've ever met, I'm going to say, whoa, hold on, I'm not that guy, because my thermostat I don't believe that about myself, right? And so I'm going to talk them down. But then the contrary comes if someone says, hey, this guy's lazy, he never does anything, he is the worst, that's below my thermostat. I'm going to bring you up to, whoa, no, I'm not that bad, here I am. And so what I worked on doing is eliminating that ceiling on my thermostat and really trying to step into that to be that example for my kids. But that pays off on business as well, because the relationships that we have with our kids is usually what we have with our clients, know. And
the way we do everything, the way we do anything is the way we do everything.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. See, that's deep.
It's these little nuggets like this, because that little statement really helped change my life, because we can't complain about one aspect. There's like Arell used an example with me one time about having the wheels of a tire and like a spoked wheel. Mm-hmm. And if it's health, wealth, happiness, relationships, and spiritual connection are the spokes of that wheel, if one of those spokes, if you're not okay in your health, or if you're not doing so okay,
it's going to be a bumpy ride.
It's going to be a bumpy ride, or
it's going to be a lopsided ride.
Right, and we're doing. How we do that thing is, or failing at that thing is how we're failing in other areas of our life. And so it's took away blame and pointing, it's that circumstance's fault, it's this circumstance's fault. And it empowered me with the option or the ability to choose and to choose the direction I wanted to go, right? So our map isn't set on how we get to our goal. It's not set in stone. We have the ability at any time to kind of change the direction how we get there, and we can make it a really long, drawn out, over the hills, down the valleys, around the whole country if we want, or we can shortcut it there. And the way we do that is through mentors and using people like Arell, wherever you can level up your life with people that challenge you. Like that was one of the things that I think that drew me to Arell in the very beginning. Was Arell was the first person that wasn't afraid to tell me the truth. I would put up such a wall and be so aggressive with people that challenged me and made me wrong, in my opinion. But he had no problem doing that at all.
It was fun.
And it was, the reason being is he loved and cared me enough to do that. And so when we tend to hold back from people, here's another thing that I think I learned through Arell was who we can't criticize controls us.
See, that's deep.
And so if we want to look at that, if you can't share, and Arell used to say, I love you enough, I love you so much, I'm not afraid to offend you.
Because it's coming from a place of love. It's not like you're out to hurt.
Well, sometimes it doesn't feel like that way to the person that's hearing it. Mm-hmm. So I just don't. I feel like I'm Eric's friend for a reason. And I don't think I'm his friend. I don't think that I'm the kind of friend that's going to tell you what you want to hear. I'm just not that kind of a friend. There's plenty of friends like that out there if you want that. But the truth is, it's all about the five people you mentioned, is who we draw to us. So you can have 5 people around you that tell you what you want to hear, and then you're in your own little
bubble,
delusioned world. Or you can create people that are going to tell you the truth, and you can just elevate yourself to realize, am I getting my feelings hurt because this person is mean? Or am I getting my feelings hurt because there's something going on that somebody's seeing that I'm not seeing?
Highland Finance, helping you prepare for life. IRS takes your money, stock market risks your money, and inflation reduces the buying power. At Highland Finance, we believe you should feel confident in your future. Our proven track record helps our clients prepare for life. Call 359-5989.
Yeah, one of the things that used to frustrate me like crazy is I would call him up with good news, right? I'd get a win, and I would say, hey, and I'd share this thing, and he would ask me a question he wouldn't congratulate me on the win. He would ask me a question that most likely I didn't have an answer to in that, and it would just drive me. Why can't he ever be happy for me? Why can't he? And what he was pointing out in me is anytime that we accomplish something and we're looking for that recognition from somewhere else, that's a validation. I'm looking elsewhere. And he was asking me to always go in and get that validation. It comes from the inside. When we're trained our whole lives to be consumers, that we need to buy this and get this house and have this wife and have this car and wear these clothes and have this jewelry, and that's going to make us happy. When we finally all get that, it's going to make us happy. And it's a lie. It's just training consumerism, which we're actually all powerful creators. And that's what Arell was challenging me with, was flipping that switch from consumer to creator and making me responsible. So you hear it at first as blame. It's all my fault. This is not my fault. I didn't create this. I didn't do this. Well, yes. If it's in your reality, you 100% did.
That is a concept that is hard for me to grasp, because it seems on its face that's obviously that person's fault. How can I have controlled that person to do that? But indirectly, you have. You guys think in a way that I do not. And
Micah, maybe it'll help if you don't look at the words in that way. Maybe you can look in the words as it's not someone's fault. There's a difference between something being someone's fault and someone having a responsibility in it,
like causing it.
See, same thing. Fault. See, you're looking for somebody to blame, and when you look for someone to blame, then somebody's always got to be wrong, and then somebody's always got to be right.
And then it's the villain.
Yeah.
Yep. The
triad. So, and where I was kind of going with this is you guys think completely different. I guess I just don't really self-analyze or think emotionally is another way of saying it. And it's good to hang out with people that think differently and that are good sounding boards. And but mindset is a topic that comes up over and over again. It's a great topic. And I started thinking about this and how I wanted to phrase the question when you mentioned something that you admire, that when it comes to obstacles, you are able to pivot and find a new opportunity. But you got to have a certain mindset, a strong mindset, not to crumble in that time, not to say, hey, a Category 5 hurricane just crushed a lot of my properties. Woe is me. No, it's stand up. Let's figure out how to make the best of the situation. Talk to me about where you come from and your mindset.
Okay, but before I do that, I just want to emphasize that this is not like a superpower that I have. Maybe it's a superpower I have, but I don't think it's not really necessarily not a superpower that other people have. Also, they may just not realize they have it, or they've just never been encouraged to use that superpower. In those superhero movies, when you watch them, usually in the beginning, especially if it's like the first one of a certain series, that's if you're getting to learn the superhero never knows what their superpowers are at first. So they have to they try to make it funny in the movie how to learn and develop and hone the skills in that superpower. And of course the socialization is huge in this, because again, if you're in an environment where it's not welcome for you to be thinking that wow, I could make a business out of this. If you're raised in China, then you don't have that same mentality. Because that particular environment doesn't allow for that mindset, or maybe that mindset's changed recently over the last 20 years, and now they allow it, and just so they can get you to develop it, and then they take it away. So, I mean, to me, unfortunately, living in this country is one of the greatest countries, and it's one of the most encouraging countries for that. So, hopefully, parents will do that. So, but back to what you wanted to know about, ask me about pivoting, and I think that the more that you maybe work on yourself, the more confident you become at, how do you say, the more confident you get at that you can solve problems. Because once you have this kind of business, and I had a fitness business. First I had a personal training business, then I had a fitness business, then I had a personal training center. I created a school for personal trainers. So I did all these other things, and then before I got into real estate, and every one of those were kind of I don't know. I sort of lost my train of thought. I was like, it must have been a lie.
We were just talking about, the mindset of being able to be strong enough to see adversity and turn it into an opportunity.
One of the things that Arell taught me in working with him was about game playing. A lot of times what happens in business is we try and get what we want without really asking for it. And we do that in our relationships. Remember how he says, how we do one thing's how we do everything. So it's not just in business, it's in your relationships, it permeates throughout your entire life. So there were a number, and depending on how you're brought up in business, like with me, there was a very clear chain of command, and you had to do certain things. And so it was kind of like a speak when spoken to kind of environment. And so it creates a lot of fear, and then you try and manipulate and do things to get what you want without actually having to say the words that you do it because you weren't allowed to. And then, or the feeling of that was what was permeated. So what Arell helped me was to figure out what I wanted. Like my wife.
And be able to express it.
Yeah, my wife does.
Most importantly, being able to express it.
And being able to express it. Because that's my wife. She works with women on that's gone through trauma experiences, and that's like the stumping question for most of her clients is when she asks, "What do they want?" What do you mean? What do I want? It could actually anger some people if you ask them what they want, because they feel so like my whole life I was never allowed what I wanted. It was what my parents wanted. It was what my school wanted. What my pastor wanted, what my family wanted. It was, and now it's the same thing. It's what my wife wants, what my kids wants. I'm last always or that was the feeling that I had. And so I created me being first, and you get resistance to that, when you've been the hero and you're helping people and you're doing over and beyond and putting others first, you become the villain when you step out of that role. But when you realize that you're not dealing with victims anymore, and that you start to empower the people around you, that goes away really quickly. You're no longer the villain. Now you're this resource for them. You're not heroing them. You're helping them find the power within themselves. And I think that's really what Arell does so well, is he's able to see the beauty and the strength and the power in people and draw that out from them when they can't do that for themselves. And I think that's what you do with opportunities, where most opportunities people don't, they would never see an opportunity in it. Arell just has his way, and it comes from this thing of no blame, and you talked about how we don't blame people. So let's use an example of that. I was in a relationship where I was cheated on, right? Constantly. And I hated and blamed this person for a long time for doing that. How could they? And when I worked with Arell and started to say, okay, I created this. Yeah, right. How did I create this? And it took me about 6 months of meditating where the answer was no way did I create this. Then that finally dawned on me. I created it because I got into that relationship with a closed off, shut off heart. And I wasn't, if anything that she did wrong, I was ready to just say, next, you're gone, you're done. And so I gave no ability for connection with me, and forced her to seek connection outside. And when she found that connection, blamed her for doing it.
You set her up to be bad and blamed.
Yep. And I was just waiting for that. I knew that, and it's because that's the way I got into the relationship. And so taking that ownership of realizing that I forced this, I was able to actually ho'oponopono this person face to face and apologize for getting into the relationship with a closed off heart. I apologize for forcing her to cheat on me, and apologize for blaming her after doing that. And it was such a powerful experience to take ownership of that. The blame went away. I don't hate her anymore. We get along now. We can co-parent amazingly.
And a limit went away for you when you did that.
Yeah.
When your limited beliefs went away.
And it didn't have to weigh on you anymore.
Right.
Man.
And so it's not about, like, I didn't have to do that face to face with her. I felt at that time that I was able to, and that it was a beautiful gift I could give. It wasn't something that I was doing for me. It was something I was giving to that. So I realized as we start to do things in business and in life and relationships, if we do it from a place of service and looking for win-win-wins, if you can create win-win-wins, that's repeat business and referrals all day long. If you can create win-win-wins.
Man.
Absolutely. But back to what Micah was asking earlier, and I know it feels like we're kind of keep asking this same question.
They're pretty important, though.
But we're going into this something else, and I think if you wrap your head around the whole conversation, I think you realize that is the answer. The whole conversation that we've had is actually the answer. When I can't pivot or solve a enormous problem that I've never faced before unless I keep removing limits from me. That is the answer. I just keep working on me to remove my limits, and the pivoting is not the most powerful thing that I learned to do that helps me in business. The thing that helped me the most is my elevating myself and removing my limits so I can solve problems. To me, the number one talent that I have is that I'm a master at solving problems.
I think you're really going to help our listeners out, that even knowing this type of thing exists, of recognizing that you've placed limits on yourself and knowing that you're able to develop yourself and train yourself to remove those. And I think that if there's one thing that I can get out of this conversation, it's that. So that's awesome.
Well, thank you so much for being here today, Arell. It's been an absolute pleasure. The gold nuggets, it's just constant. I hopefully that we can in the very near future schedule for some other moments, because I know that we've got a lot of more nuggets in there. I've worked with Arell for years, and like I said, he's changed my life. He's changed my family's life, and I really appreciate you taking the time for us.
Thanks for coming out.
My pleasure.
I said it before and I'll say it again. It's really good to have different points of view or surround yourself by people that think differently, so that you have a great source of being able to have a sounding board and you're not stuck in your own delusional bubble. You want to be successful. It's really important to have smart people to bounce your ideas off of. And that's one of the big takeaways from this, is to utilize the people around you, and being able to train and hone yourself to be able to receive success. And that I've had limits on myself that I know that I've put on myself, and if I didn't have those sort of resources around me to like Eric, I wouldn't have recognized the limit, and I wouldn't have even known the need to work through it and get it out of my head. Yeah, and I learned that Arell was teaching me your quote about surrounding yourself with you're the average of the 5 people you have. Yeah, no, that's I think that Micah original. That nugget, if you get anything today, realizing that you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with, that in and of itself, taking a look at those 5 people and leveling your average up, is going to be hugely, massively improvement to your current situation, to your own current success, but also never even thought about it, to your children's success, to leading by example what you want for them. That it's one thing just to say to do something, but like Arell said today that kids don't do what you tell them to. They do what you do. So if you're laying on the couch eating Cheetos every day, telling your kids, go after your dreams, kid. You can do whatever you want.
they're not going to see that. They're going to grow up eating Cheetos and watching TV on the couch because that was the example that you provided for them. So taking risks with kids, and
challenging
and challenging yourself now becomes something that you have to do and not something that you avoid.
Coming from a place of love and telling somebody what they don't want to hear, because even though it's something that they need to hear. So while you're honing your craft and becoming better at what you do in your own lives, you're also improving your children's lives by becoming a better example.
Awesome.
Powerful episode.
Well, thank you all for joining us. Be sure to tune in next episode. There's lots more gold nuggets coming your way.
Yep. Don't miss one. Thanks for coming out. Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in to the Commission Mission. It is our mission to increase your commission. If you got any gold nuggets out of the episode today, make sure you don't miss any more. Click, like, subscribe, whatever that action is for the platform that you're watching this on. Make sure you don't miss any more good nuggets, and help us help you.
Yeah, one of the things that new or struggling entrepreneurs struggle with is asking for the sale. Asking for what you need, and they're afraid of rejection. But I'll give you a sample of that exactly right now. Is if this helped you in any way, please share this with 3 friends of yours, 3 people that you think would benefit from what was discussed on these podcasts. And
friends in sales, anyone in your organization that can benefit from this needs to hear it. Thanks, everybody. Highland Finance, helping you prepare for life. The profit your business brings in should go to you, not accidents, injuries, and hurricanes. Do a policy review on your general liability and workers' comp today. Our proven track record helps our clients prepare for life. Call 850-359-5989. Highland Finance.